Spirituality and self-help and personal development and psychology and relationships and health and wellness are quite frankly so enmeshed that as far as markets go, they're considered to be one and the same field. We could spend time separating out all of these elements from one another, but in today's episode, I'm going to show you how in the big picture, all of these things really do go hand in hand. The first thing to understand is that incarnation is really about non-physical energy, what we would call spiritual energy, manifesting into the physical. This means that there is nothing that is not spiritual. Everything in physical existence is, in fact, spiritual by nature. From this perspective, you are a spirit having a human experience, and anything in the physical dimension is really spirit first, having a physical experience. Therefore, it is impossible to really say what is and is not spiritual. You incarnate into the physical for a very important purpose. Now, on a minute, more subjective level, that is personal expansion. In the more objective sense, that is universal expansion, which is occurring through you. For the sake of your understanding, the process of consciousness manifesting as a person in the 3D can be compared to creating and then coming into first-person perspective of an avatar in a video game that you also happen to have created. The point is to be fully focused into this video game, so to speak, so as to make the very most of that experience and use it to level up. This means that the most spiritual path is to really fully live your physical existence. It is to become self-actualized in the physical. To make the most of your life itself, to consciously use your physically incarnated experience to become aware and to use that awareness to consciously create in the physical is in fact the highest spiritual path. This means there are people who do not think of God and who are not aware of their non-physical self, but whom are powerfully committed to self-development or the perfection of a craft here in the physical, say a passionate musician, for example, who are in fact walking a more spiritually in alignment path than some who have dedicated their entire life to God or an afterlife or to spiritual discipline. Many people who are aware that there is a non-physical reality or dimension to life itself aren't aware of this. In fact, they're convinced of quite the opposite. They're convinced that the purpose of life is to somehow wake up out of it, as if it's some kind of illusion that they're meant to transcend. To understand more about this, watch my video titled How Human Intelligence is Destroying Human Nature, Anti-Human. Becoming aware implies also becoming aware that this physical existence is not all there is to existence itself. It's becoming aware that there is a non-physical dimension to this existence. Therefore, your physical self that you call by your name is not all that you are. Because you are not just physical, awareness implies becoming aware of what is spiritual or incorporeal, the bigger picture of this universe. The degree of both personal and universal expansion that occurs with this awareness is exponential. Becoming aware also implies awareness of your physical aspect of existence. When non-physical energy manifests in physical form as a physical human, it does so in 3 primary layers. We could call these mind, feeling, and body. Becoming aware of all 3 and caretaking all 3 is a necessary element of alignment. Awareness and caretaking of all 3 is critical when it comes to your physical health, your physical well-being, as long as creating an alignment between your physical and non-physical perspective so as to stay in alignment with the purpose for coming here in the first place. Here's the problem. Given that this is part of awareness, this means that it drags the concept of physical health and well-being into the picture of spirituality. This complicates things further. Health and wellness now cannot be considered entirely separate from spirituality. So is a spiritual leader now a healer or doctor too? On top of this, coming into a separate physical incarnation implies that the second that you choose into a perspective of selfhood, other is born naturally as a consequence. In the realm of self and other, suddenly what happens is relationship. There is no such thing as relationship in a unified field. Relationship happens in the realm of separation, self, and other. This means life is relationships. This means the quality of your experience of life in the physical is all about the quality of relationships. Therefore, the mastery of relationships can no longer be separated from your path of spiritual progression. Spirituality, self-help, personal development, health, wellness, relationships, and psychology are in fact all intertwined. They are all parts of the reality of your existence as a human. You could technically split hairs so as to define a person's expertise at any level of this dynamic I have just described. Any expert who specializes in any one aspect of this layer cake of existence will have a slightly different perspective on the person standing in front of them. And it is only possible to focus only on one layer of a person until it is not. For example, a person would not even have to believe in a non-physical dimension, not even have to think about things like what humans call God, in order to unravel their personal childhood trauma or to examine a limiting belief. But if they encounter a limiting belief that calls existential truth into question, or would be unraveled only by seeing existential truths, it is no longer possible. Or a person could pray all day long and find all of their answers in meditation until the day that in that meditation they become aware of the fact that they've been using meditation as an escape mechanism. At that point, their only way of progressing is to go towards the psychological aspects of their being that are caught in an avoidance pattern. The basic thing to understand about life is that because all of these layers that make up a physical human are so integral to one another, it is impossible to have a full objective picture of what is going on with any person without the full picture of all of these layers. You have to take all of the elements of them into account, non-physical, mental, emotional, and physical. This is because an impediment to somebody's progression, desire, health, sense of well-being, or anything else that they're trying or wanting to achieve could happen at any of these levels, or multiple layers at once. Any expert in any of these fields, spirituality, self-help, personal development, relationships, health, wellness, and psychology, whether it's a guru, a doctor, a psychologist, a self-help expert, a relationship counselor, an energy healer, a therapist, or a yogi, etc., is wanting the same thing: for a person to find alignment, which creates a state of well-being. Very often this means that a spiritual teacher must not only talk to someone about theology, meaning, or existential truths, but in fact about the traumas in their childhood, what emotional wounds may be in the way of manifesting the things they want, their relationship patterns, or what's going on with their body, etc. This means a doctor may not actually be able to find a cure for one of their patients if all they're taking into account is the physical. They also have to become aware of the fact that emotional elements create the ways that the tissues in the body respond, and therefore, the very key to the ailment in their patient might just be the quality or lack thereof of their marriage. This means that a psychologist might also need to approach a problem on the level of hormonal imbalance, or meridian blockage, or ancestral trauma. What an expert in any of these fields or layers offers to another expert is a deeper look into what may be happening at that particular layer of the layer cake of a human. It is inevitable that one's spiritual path, as long as they continue to progress on that path instead of stagnate, will lead them directly to the conscious understanding that they are here in this life to learn, to become aware, to love, to transform, to progress, to manifest, to heal, to create, and ultimately to become self-actualized. This naturally leads them to a curiosity about what's in the way of doing that. And this self-actualization can only be achieved with a conscious commitment to learning about all the elements of self-actualization, including but not limited to physical health, wellness, self-help, self-development, manifestation, relationships, shadow work, success, psychology, and emotions, and consciously choosing to level up in life by applying what they learn. This is why, instead of separate, to actually stand in a position of truth, all of these things must go hand in hand. And as humanity continues to develop, what you will see is that these elements that go into physical existence, into well-being, into progressing, into self-actualizing, instead of becoming more separate and defined, they will become more and more integrated. Have a good week. If you liked this video, be sure to share it, like it, and also subscribe to my channel so you can see more content like this. But I want to personally thank you for taking the initiative and having the bravery to step into the space of awareness, not only for yourself, but for the benefit of those around you.